Welcome to Sayless Projects. We believe in the power of shared stories to inspire action and possibility and to bring hope to people who need it most. Through storytelling and purposeful action, we promote mental health awareness and support efforts to prevent suicide. You'll hear from a wide range of guests, runners, creators, leaders, and everyday people, sharing what they have lived, what they have learned, and what helped them keep going. The truth is, none of this is meant to be carried alone. If you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or tired, you are not alone. This is the art of doing something about it. Welcome back to the Art of Doing Something About It, Austin edition. I'm excited to be here as we prepare to go on our third relay from Dallas to Austin. And this year we have two people from Austin joining our team. And today I'm honored to sit here with Jackson Mitchell. Welcome to the podcast. Jackson, if you could just go ahead and introduce kind of where you're from, how you got here to Austin, just a little bit of information about yourself.
Yeah, so Jackson Mitchell's my name. Grew up in Southlake, Texas. Started my career in Dallas. So Texas boy since I was about 10. Worked in Dallas for a few years and really just started kind of feeling like I needed to get out of my comfort zone and go see somewhere new. And I was between Austin and Denver and chose Austin. So I've been in Austin now for about 4.5 years.
Awesome. And you played ball at SMU, right?
Yeah, I played outside linebacker at SMU,
Okay.
about 40 pounds heavier at the time. So we've come a long way.
Yeah, awesome. Is that when you started, is that what started kind of like your journey with running and health, or did you grow up from like youth playing ball?
Yeah, so when I was young, I was like a very chubby, plump kid. And there came a point in time where I decided I really wanted to try to play college football. And that was kind of the catalyst that pushed me toward working out, and, had great parents, very supportive, and they gave me the resources to be able to train and change my body and set myself up for that opportunity. And so I started training probably around 8th grade. But as far as running goes, I really didn't get into running until way later on. Most of my training up until that point was just like strength focused and a lot more like, just how can I be as big and strong as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. One big thing for us with Say Less is like kind of getting beyond, like we use running and this sport as like a means to, as a vehicle basically to tell stories. But who would you say you are like outside of being an athlete?
Oh man.
Not too deep of a question.
No. Outside of being an athlete, and really I think just like at my core, I'm somebody who wants everybody around me to realize that we are capable of literally whatever we set our minds to. And you know this about me, I have a tagline, it's no limits. And as I was thinking about this discussion and thinking about no limits, what I started to think about was the fact that, mental health, which is a big focus here, is like, I feel a lot of it is around the way that you are perceiving the situation that you're in, or your ability to change a situation that you might be in. And so to answer your question around like, who am I outside of being an athlete, is like, I'm somebody who wants everybody around me to win and just to recognize how capable and powerful like we all are.
Yeah, I love that. How did you come into that like mindset? Like if you look back, when did you tap into like this idea of like no limits? Do you remember, like, was there like something that happened in your life, a mentor, a coach? Yeah.
So I grew up in the Christian faith. Like, I'm a believer, and my faith is the foundation of everything. And the Bible verse that I grew up hearing all the time was Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And the context in the Bible is a little bit different when you talk about that verse, but the way that it stuck with me was just like, I can do anything because I have this like power behind me that allows me to have access to that if I really just go for it and work. And so that kind of being raised with that mentality and then going to play football, I walked on at SMU, so I didn't have a scholarship. I bet on myself. I pursued that goal, and I ended up, a 4-year starter, 4-year letterman, 2-year starter, team captain, scholarship, like had a great career. And that just kind of further solidified for me that belief that if I'm willing to work to achieve a goal, like it's achievable as long as I believe so and I'm willing to put in that work. And then, when you fast forward that throughout the rest of my life, it was like going for big things in my career, going for the marathon, the triathlon, all these different things that I was pursuing. I was seeing that like if I believed in what I was chasing and I was willing to work, like I could achieve great things. And so, COVID hit, I started a podcast. I would interview people talking about the walk-on journey and how that translates to life outside of sports. But what I realized was it's not really about sports. It's about just life in general. And whether you're trying to start a business, a nonprofit, walk onto a team, run a marathon, anything that seems big and scary. If you're willing to bet on yourself and go for it, like you can achieve whatever you set your mind to. And so I guess, was there a pivotal moment? I think it was when I was doing that podcast in the first few episodes, and as I did more and more and heard these stories, it was just that recurring theme of this isn't really about sports. Like this is life. So that was probably it was 2020 when I started the podcast. So I would say that's when it really became this like potent thing in my life that I thought about very often.
I love that. It's kind of like the power of words. Like if you hear a word or a truth and it shifts or alters the way you think, and then how that like changes your whole environment, your whole life. That's awesome. What would you say your relationship is right now with running, like with health and wellness?
Yeah, with health and wellness, it's my biggest outlet for sure. I have a demanding career, and I feel that training for a specific goal, or even if I don't have a goal that's on the calendar, so to speak, like training is a place where I can go and disconnect from the stresses of the world. And it's also always been a vehicle for me to like explore my potential. You'll notice this theme with me. Like I'm somebody who wants to squeeze every drop out of life that I possibly can. And so, setting a goal for a sub 3 marathon and training super hard for it, or trying to go sub 60 in a high rocks, or do an Ironman or whatever that looks like, that to me is a place where I can really go see like, what am I made of, which I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, absolutely. What about mental health? How do you kind of marry the two? Like, where's your mental health relation? What's your relationship with mental health at this time?
So it was funny. One of the questions on there was like, what's something that people don't really know about you? And I didn't really know what a good answer would be to that. But I think one thing that I love about my journey is my kind of exposure to therapy and things like that. Whereas like, if you were to go back 10 years in time, I would have never thought that I would like do any sort of therapy, counseling. I never would have thought I would explore that stuff, not because it was bad, but I just was like, I think naive to the benefit and the value there, just of understanding yourself at a different level of depth. And your question was like, mental health, how does that play into running and just like wellness in general? I feel like, in the darkest days of my life, or if I'm stressed, or if things aren't going well in one area, I always know that if I get up and go move, like I'm going to feel better. So again, back to like a moment ago when I was saying it's an outlet, like it's just been one of those things that's kind of like a steady rock in my life in terms of me knowing that if I go move my body, like I'm going to feel better. And I tell people all the time that like the two places where I feel like most at ease, generally speaking, are the gym and church. And like, it's been like that as long as I can remember.
That's awesome. What made you say less when I told you about running from Dallas to Austin?
Man, first of all, it's just been really cool to watch you in building this. And, again, being somebody who believes so deeply in the capabilities of all of us, and getting to be part of a group of people from all different walks of life, different experiences. But ultimately, everybody who said less is somebody who is committing to doing something that involves the unknown. Like, you don't know how you're going to feel on no sleep, running every so often over the course of over 24 hours. maybe somebody in the group hasn't run more than 10 miles in a, single segment. Maybe somebody's run 100, but there's just like so many different characters that are part of this team. And I just think the bond that is built through doing hard things, and especially for a cause like mental health, suicide awareness and prevention, like that is the kind of cause that I am just like all about supporting. So it was really a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you most pumped about? Like, you're like you said, it's gonna be work. Y'all are gonna be out there. I mean, the first 2 years, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna crush it," and then we get out there in that Texas heat on Saturday. Once you make it through that first night, and the bodies hit the floor. But what are you most excited about for the journey?
Yeah, I think it's just that new stimulus. And then again, being with people who we can push each other, feed off each other's energy. We're going to be tired, but like having that person next to you that says, nah, like you got this, that can carry you a long ways. And, like I said, I've done some different, challenges, and this is different than anything I've done. So just excited to like, continue to go explore my potential in that way.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would say you might be like nervous about, or just like curious how it's gonna go when you're out there?
The biggest thing, honestly, is like I'm not trying to mess with no wild dogs, but but otherwise, like, no, man, I'm just excited. I can't believe it's like, what is it, 4 weeks out now?
Yeah, we're getting close.
I can't believe it.
The timing is wild. I literally got chased by a dog this morning, a German Shepherd. I'm like, how do I run all these runs and then in my own neighborhood I get chased by a dog? If someone's going through, like, they're in that dark time right now and they're having difficulty, just they're in that chapter of their story, what would you say to them?
One, I would say there's always help. There's always help available. Like, there are phenomenal therapists and counselors and hotlines, and there are people who want to support you. Like, no matter what you're walking through, no matter what you're going through, like there's people who care about you. So I would say that. And then the other thing I would say is just kind of what I was speaking about earlier, and that's what I was thinking of, was like, I think that, and I noticed this in myself, if I get into a place where I'm having, negative thoughts or feeling like, woe is me, I just find that like so much of that I can put on myself by the way that I'm thinking about a situation. And I find that, oftentimes you can reframe the way you're thinking about something and have a completely different experience just based on the way that you are choosing to think about it. And obviously every situation is different. And that's why I said first, like, there is help available, but, like, change your mind and change your experience. And, again, like, it's always worth talking to somebody.
Yeah. I love like your mindset and your mind state, and I'm always intrigued by like how people got to that place, because it's not something that we just like are born and it happens. Like, I would say like we're pretty lucky and blessed that we're having this conversation and that we talk to each other the way that we do, and being that I'm sure you have too, and I've been around people who like they weren't given this information, they weren't taught this, how to keep going and how to have no limits and all of these things. And besides your faith, obviously, that gives you that kind of language, are there other things you would say, like in your life, maybe it was parents or whatever, like what has attributed for you to have that mentality?
Yeah, definitely my parents, but also like it's actually funny you asked that now, because I was back home over Christmas and I was running, and I'm looking at some of the houses around my neighborhood, like the community that I grew up in. And, I grew up in a very fortunate situation, never wanted for anything. My parents instilled work ethic in my sister and myself, but, we were very fortunate. And I'm looking at these mansions and I'm like, man, for me, when I look around and I see people who've achieved great things, whether it's business or impact or you name it, right? Whatever you view as success. When I look around and see that like these normal people have created this situation, for me, I'm like, then why in the world would I not be able to do that? Everything I see to me is evidence that it's possible. And so if I don't achieve whatever it might be, then that's because I didn't go for it. Yeah. So yeah, I would say Yeah, my environment definitely has inspired me to believe that I'm capable of that kind of thing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And that's why I think it's so important that we live the way we do, where like you're putting this stuff out on your social media. And I know there's people have different thoughts about social media, but I think it's so important because a lot of people, it's not that they can't do it. They've never seen it. They've never seen a neighborhood like you grew up in, or they just haven't been taught that there is these realities and ways to think. And I think that's why it's so important that we continue to normalize this conversation for people so that they can see that there is hope. And what you just said, so important. It's like, well, if he can do it, like, why can't I do it? Like,
Right.
and I think the more we get around people that are doing it, that becomes even more real. Where we're like, oh, this guy, like, he's just like me.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
he just maybe he learned more, he got lucky, he got fortunate, or he put in the work.
Right.
You get to the Capitol, you're finishing, and we're celebrating, and people may be watching like the short film we're gonna do on this, the story. For your part, what do you hope someone watching your version of it and your story of it, what do you hope they take away from seeing you do this?
Just that, I was 240 pounds, like fat, big fat boy,
Yeah.
like there was some muscle there too, right? But like I was never a runner, and anybody who puts on their shoes and goes and runs is a runner, right? Doesn't matter the pace. But,
Absolutely.
when I'm talking about just like somebody who maybe didn't look like they could do that, like I want to be living evidence that anything you set your mind to, you can accomplish, whether it's physical, professional, relational, like it doesn't matter. This is slightly unrelated, but it's like change your environment, change your life, change your mind, change your life. And everything that we do starts with a decision to do it. And so, I hope anybody watching my part of the story specifically would just feel like, man, he's right. And maybe I do need to like change up how I'm thinking about this situation. And maybe I do need to like go for it. Just get up and take the first step. Then you don't have to run a marathon on the first time you go run, but like take one step. And that's what I hope people would take away from me.
Absolutely. I need you to send me them photos so we can pop them up and really inspire some people. But man, thank you for saying less. I'm really proud of just being able to watch your journey, even just these last couple of years of knowing you, seeing like you take it there with everything that you do. And I would say, man, kudos for living your message and really putting it out there that there's no limits. And also showing like one of the things I love about you is like on your stories and content, you've also shared like you didn't hit the goal. You didn't hit the thing. But at the end of the day, those of us who have dared to try know that like that's the win. Like just going out, like half the time, like my medals are in the closet. I don't even pull them out.
Yeah.
But the fact that I tried it and I did it gives me that courage to keep saying less and keep going. And so just proud of you and grateful that you're on the team. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do this year. So thank you for tuning in. If you want to see Jackson and the others finish, stay connected, subscribe to our channel, follow us. If you want to learn more about our nonprofit and what we're doing to normalize these conversations, you can go to saylessprojects.com. And most importantly, keep going.